And are you refreshed? Yes. Good. Now what? A lot going on in here, isn't there?
So I have a little story. I was on the phone with my mom, and she's in Italy. And she was driving while she was on the phone with me. And at one point she's like, oh my God, there's so much traffic here. And I keep talking to her, and she couldn't figure out what the source of traffic was. And then as she gets closer to the source of traffic, she noticed that in this, it's a kind of like a high-speed highway. I've been on, I know that street. And there is a bridge that collapsed onto the street. Except it collapsed on a truck, and this big giant truck. And the truck went under it, and it went past the driver part, and it collapsed right on the big part of the truck that could take the hit. And nobody got hurt. It was kind of like, we started laughing about it. She sent me photos, like, oh my God, look at this. This is crazy. And it was just so...
Perfect timing.
Yes. So, you know, I've been living life and having fun and noticing how kind of like things happen. And it seems to me that in this creative process, there is also some interest that comes from where you guys hang out, you know, into kind of like making some stuff occur in a certain way.
Intense interest, and agility, and ability, and effectiveness.
How specific is that interest? Sometimes it seems to me
more
that...
specific than you can identify. More details. What do you think keeps this world moving around the way it does? It isn't you. It's the trajectory. It's the trajectory. But this is the biggest misunderstanding of humans. Humans think that they're here to prove worthiness to something, and then they reemerge into non-physical, which is finished. But it could not be more the other way. It's that here, as you come from source, you explore and you redefine who you are and what you want, which means you continue to bring source forward into this time-space reality. And everything that we've been talking about all day here today, and every day that we ever visit with any of you, is to help you to realize that we are all in this together. And when you tune yourself to the frequency of your source, then you will be the realizer of that interest. So many of the ideas, you say, I got an idea. We say, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Because you realized, you turned the thought to something tangible by being in the vibrational vicinity where the thought was, you see.
Say it again.
Here's the easier way to understand it. So, you are extensions of source energy, but you are not separate from source energy. You are extensions of source energy. So you hold two perspectives at all times. The potential for two, better when it's one. So here you are in your physical form, exploring in more detail and more conditionally than source does. As you explore more conditionally than source does, you launch rockets of desire about the improvement of conditions, because source does not focus conditionally or as detailed as you do. Source maintains the vibrational countenance, and when you launch the new rocket, source holds that, and then you make your way back to it for the manifestation of it. So Esther realized more profoundly than ever before once Jerry made his transition, because she's been playing with us for a long time. But when Jerry made his transition and she started trying to feel where he was, rather than being so aware where he wasn't. She began to feel his interest in so many things that she was about, not just the Abraham work, although that is where his keenest interest is, but in the finding for the piece of art for the house, or the finding of the perfect plant for that perfect spot, or the finding and the implementation of the replastering of the pool. In other words, everything that he was ever interested in, he is interested in and more. No withdrawing, no leaving, just not conditional interest anymore. Just no resistance in his interest anymore. So if Esther is all wadded up in some problem, she can't feel the clarity that she now realizes is Jerry. Well, all of the Jerrys and the Abrahams and the source, it doesn't matter what you want to call it, everyone who has ever lived, who has reemerged into non-physical, is still keenly interested in what you all are about. And you all have access to their advantage, to their broader perspective, to their knowing. And what is it that they predominantly know that you don't know? They know where you are in relationship to where you want to be, and what the probable path of least resistance for you is. And so they're with insight in every moment, more insight, offering something that you may or may not be vibrationally up to speed with enough to be receiving of. But once you start getting a whiff of this, once you start realizing that it's happening, once you start deliberately preparing yourself vibrationally for the realization of all of this, when you say, I just got a really good idea, it would be better if you said, I was just the receiver of the best idea because I created the atmosphere that made me receptive to the idea. But sometimes humans, you're so determined to prove your own worthiness that you separate yourself from that unconditional love. Ooh, did you hear that? I need to go it alone, source. Don't help me in any way. I know you know the path of least resistance to everything that I want, but I want to prove myself worthy to you, so I will deny you completely. Interesting, isn't it? You're getting a different understanding of how this all fits together.
And it's been getting clearer, more and more clear to me as I this kind of like relationship with the part of me that knows best and me kind of down here doing the thing.
But you see, let's use different words than that, because when you say the part of me that knows best, there's a sort of condemnation of where you are, and that goes awry. In other words, don't compare yourself to that, because we are all in this together. Yes, that broader perspective does exist, but this more detailed perspective is of enormous value too. In other words, together we are expanding and creating and eternal. That's why you said, I will go forth to explore and become.
Although I feel like my highest self kind of like knows the details even more than I do.
Knows the potential for the details and will enjoy the discovery of them right along with you. Have any of you had the sensation, as we've been moving forward here today, of the mutual discovery that we have had in the explanation of some things? Can you feel that we didn't just come with a list of things that we wanted to say in a way that you could hear them, but that your questions and that your participation, even those of you who are not in the room, who are around the world, who are having thoughts about this, are all dovetailing for this co-creation at its best? In other words, together we are experiencing what you are living, and the database that you bring to it, so to speak, the basis of what you're looking for and who you are. And then we dovetail all that we know and mix with that everything that's in your vortex. And depending upon where you are, we are having some really remarkable moments here where we are taking thought beyond that which it has been before. There is never, ever going to be satisfaction. Oh, this is what you're reaching for. Source is not getting kicks by you catching up. It's not about you finding your worthiness and finally learning it. It is together we are co-creating into something that has not been before. And it takes both aspects of that. It takes your willingness to explore and want for something that hasn't been, and our stability to hold the steadiness of it until you find your way to it, you see. Oh, co-creating at its best. And such exhilaration for you and such exhilaration for us. So much so that we can say that your joy is ours, your excitement is ours. In other words, what you're feeling is the satisfaction that we feel, not just because you finally caught on, but because we all went to a place we haven't been before. You get that? That matters to eternal beings like the likes of all of us.